All right, guys. Today we're going to bring you the Eastern Conference final matchup. It's finally decided. We've got the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Florida Panthers. The Carolina Hurricanes kicking the New Jersey Devils out in 5 games, and the Florida Panthers kicking out the Toronto Maple Leafs in 5 games. So these two teams are going to be well rested before this series starts. One team's not going to get less of a break than the other. So yeah, there should be no excuses going into this one for either teams. I think they'll probably have about a week off in between their last game and the first game of this series almost. So yeah, pretty crazy that one. The other one, smart surprise packet is Florida, who we all probably thought weren't even going to make the playoffs at one stage, are into the Eastern Conference final. That's just incredible in itself. Um, yeah, it's crazy. Last year, won the President's Trophy, kicked out in the second round. This year, barely make playoffs, make the Eastern Conference final. Make it make sense, I guess, right? But yeah, in terms of these two teams in the regular season, not too much to split them. Carolina Hurricanes, 2-1-0, Panthers 1-2-0. It is to be said that the one game Florida Panthers won was a 3-0 shutout, but Carolina Hurricanes, one of their games was a 4-0 shutout. So interesting. Regular season sort of matchup doesn't really give us anything. It's pretty evenly split, really. Um, but yeah, I've got a feeling that this is going to be a absolute cracker. And it could once again come down to Big Bob saving the day for Florida because I think they're going to need one hell of a series out of him if they're going to get past this um, Carolina team that just even with the offensive players that they're missing, they've still been producing at a ridiculous rate. As you can see, 3.64 goals a game. Yeah, I think Bob's going to have to stand on his head if he's going to stop these guys, and it's going to be extremely hard to get past the defense. But I'll leave you with Jaden to run you through a few stats and his thoughts on the series.
Yeah, interesting matchup. I thought if anyone was going to break the Carolina shutdown defense, it was going to be New Jersey just through their speed. But they didn't really show up in that playoff series, so I guess Florida's
They
probably
did for one game.
eh, well, probably for like 2 games, but didn't finish it. But yeah, in regards to that, like I'd say Florida's a good chance to break that. You mentioned the regular season head to head. I think if you're gonna look at that stat, this is probably the matchup that you'd at least look at that stat because obviously Florida's a different team. They really turned it on at the end of the season, and they've been pretty much that high up turned on team since that point. They haven't really looked like that horrible Florida during the start and middle of the season. So you can only take that really with a grain of salt. Um, in regards to the goaltending situation that you mentioned, obviously you got Carolina with a hot Anderson at the moment, and I don't know how long that lasts. I think you probably last maybe a game or two before Ransom might have to step in, just because I think Florida are really going to take it here. In regards to players to look out for, Aho's been great. 10 points. Martinuk has looked absolutely amazing for Canes. I really liked his game. He skates like with meaning, which I've noticed in the playoffs that some players just don't skate like that I've seen in previous playoffs where majority of the team do. I think some people are just a little bit lax, and now Martinuk's always skating very hard, playing hard, fast skater. So I'd be looking out for him on the
Inc-
Carolina side.
incredible, incredible to think he was waived,
Mm.
like he was placed on waivers at early on in the season. So like that's an incredible comeback to go from that to basically be your team's best performer almost.
Mm.
in the playoffs. That's just phenomenal. I thought I'd just point that out on his behalf.
Now
He's
you
yeah,
bring up a
he's
good
really
point with
turned his
that.
season around.
You bring up a good point with that because something I've noticed in this playoff series is that depth players like the energy lines, whatever you want to call them, third line, fourth liners, they are skating harder than the first and second liners, and I've noticed it through
Hmm.
pretty much every series so far to date that the third and fourth liners are looking better than first and second liners. Just because they're always pushing hard because obviously they're trying harder, and I know they're not playing as many minutes as some of the top liners are, but they have more emphasis and push in their game. So I just wanted to point that out that you got to look out for these third and fourth liners in this series. Um, I would like
I
to point
think
out,
they al- I
yep.
think they're also probably built for playoffs more than first and second liners almost because we know that in playoffs physicality comes into it a lot more.
Mm,
And a lot of those third and fourth liners are grinder lines, right? Like they're used to coming on, putting on the big hits,
mm,
board battle sort of things. Like they're used to that grindy game. So
yeah.
yeah, it's probably
Whereas
one of
these
the big
stars
reasons.
aren't used to it.
Exactly.
You see that with Carolina and how they dealt with New Jersey, big hits on Heisher and a couple others. Rangers did a couple big hits on Jack Hughes, like those star players getting big hits that they don't normally get during the regular season. But moving on from that, Jacob Slavin been absolutely amazing, probably one of the best defenders in the playoffs all around this year. Really loved his game. And moving on to Florida's side of things, you've got Matthew Kachuk pretty much carrying that team in a sense. He's pretty phenomenal. Is their best plus minus as well, with their worst being Anthony Declare, which I found was a little bit interesting because I thought he was playing a little bit better than that, but I guess not in a sense. And it was good to see Sam Reinhart up there as well. He's always been a little bit lower since his trade in a sense to Florida, I feel like, and it's good to see him finally up on top of the scoreboard like he should be. I feel like. I'll just point out in regards to penalty kill and playoffs, power play. Sorry, Carolina have struggled with their power play, pretty much from the regular season till now. But they have a phenomenal penalty kill. Really pressures the puck carrier. Going on to Florida, they've got a great power play, penalty kill, not so much. So it'll be interesting to see how that little dynamic plays out.
Yeah, for sure. I think I guess that's one of the things. But power play of 18.9, it's not terrible. It's not great. It's not the best, but they are scoring power play goals. So it's not like, they're subpar 10 and looking like that. But their penalty kill is phenomenal at 90%. Like that is ridiculous. It just shows that, on the penalty kill, yep, they might not necessarily get it done on the power play, but they are very responsible when they give away penalties. Not saying that you want to be giving away penalties all the time, but when you're only conceding 1 out of 10 times, like that's got to give your team some confidence. Like, okay, we know if we concede, what your average penalties given per game is probably three, right? 2 to 3. Um, you know that you're probably not going to concede a goal on the power play for almost 3 games. Like that's got to give you a world of confidence in this defensive side, and this is where I think a lot of it's going to be won for Carolina is just that defense. They just grind you to the ground and make it almost impossible for you to get shots away. They block the slot so well. They take in both series, the teams that they face haven't put a huge amount of shots on goal, but their shot attempts aren't necessarily that bad. It's just that they can't get anything through. They every time they shoot, it goes into a body or it goes wide because that's just how well they've covered it. Um, And I think that's really what it's going to come down to in this series. I think Carolina's defensive prowess is where Florida's really going to struggle. They got a hold of Boston in the first round, which is interesting, which sort of leads me to think, okay, well maybe they can do that to Carolina. Um, but the Toronto situation, it wasn't there weren't actually a lot of goals scored in that series. Like you know what, it was 4 goals was the most goals scored by one team in that series, and pretty much every game was decided by a goal besides one. Um, so I'm expecting that, the Canes are going to really tighten this series down defensively. So I don't think Florida are going to get a huge amount of goals through. The question is going to be on Florida's defense and goalie end. Can Bobrovsky hold them to a low total? Because I don't think Florida are going to put 6 or 7 past Carolina. I don't think they're going to win games, 5-3 that way. I think if they're going to win games, they're going to win games similar to how they won them against Toronto. They're going to win games 2-1, 3-2. They're not going to score many more than 3 goals a game in this series against Carolina. So Bob and Florida's defense need to be on their A game. Otherwise, this could run away from them real quickly.
Yeah. Watching Carolina, I think this series will be won in somewhere that probably people won't think of, and it'll be won on the boards. What I've noticed with Carolina, they win puck battles along the boards. It feels like 9 times out of 10, like they're extremely strong against the boards. They win pucks that they really shouldn't, and it really comes down to position of the structure of the team and allowing that extra person to go in, help out, and whatnot. So I feel like that's probably where this game will be won by Carolina. Um, is on the boards because their board strength is just phenomenal. Like I said, their Martinook and whatnot just skate and play that much harder along the boards. They've got Stall, obviously, who's a strong unit. So that's honestly where I think it will be. It will be along the boards and not in the middle of the ice. Obviously, power plays and penalty kills are going to take into it. But if you're going to watch the series, just notice the puck battles and see how often Carolina are winning those, because I feel like you'll see that it leans heavily in Carolina's favor. But
Yeah, for sure.
with that, I don't think I have too much more to add on that. So if you got anything else,
Nah, not too much to be honest. I'm just really impressed with both of these teams actually. Florida's run, obviously, no one expected, but Carolina as well. I know they finished obviously second overall, first in the Metro, but they've lost two. You could say Pacioretty as well, three, but Pacioretty didn't really play this season, so I won't keep him in there. But they lost two top six forwards, and they're still doing this well. Like, imagine if they had Svechnikov and Teravainen for this series, or for the playoffs in general. Imagine if they had those two players, how deadly this team could be.
mm,
So to be in the Eastern Conference Finals with two of your better players gone, is just incredible. And if they make it to the Stanley Cup final, it's one hell of a feat to do it without two of your, better players. So yeah, both these teams absolute well deserved to be here. I've, as we said, I've got the Canes in 6, so do you. However, that doesn't take away from Florida. If Florida were to win this series, well deserved to be there. Didn't
no,
play very well in the home and away season,
mm,
but they have been absolutely lights out in the playoffs. It's incredible. They've been the President's Trophy winner team that they were last year. They just saved it for the playoffs. And that's when you want to do it, right? They proved it last year, won the President's Trophy, then bombed in the second round. you don't want to be that team. Boston did it this year, lights out in the home and away season, but that doesn't mean shit at the end of the day. That doesn't get you to the cup. They've proven it. These guys have just proven that doesn't matter how shit you play in the home and away season, yeah, as long as you make the playoffs, if you bring your best hockey in the playoffs, it can pretty much take you anywhere.
Mm. Yeah, you just
So
have to turn it on
yeah,
at the right
I don't
time. Obviously, you mentioned their injuries,
exactly.
but it comes down to, it's a salary cap era. We keep saying it, and they don't have any really stupid contracts on that team. There's no players signed over 9 million. There's and that's pretty much sums up why they are such a strong team. It sums up why New Jersey made it where they were. They got one guy on 9 million, and that's Hamilton. Um, I just think all these teams that sign these 9 million plus contracts, like you have to perform at a certain level to do that. And look, like I said, no 9 million plus contracts. They're in the Eastern Conference Finals, but their players are playing good. Like Aho
Mhm,
is playing amazing, and he's only on 8.4. Like I said, Martinuk, he's only 1.8 mil, and he's got 10 points. He's the same as Aho. Like the value in that contract is phenomenal. Um, so I just
mhm.
word to GMs, don't go signing McDavid contracts. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to. You don't need to do that sort of stuff.
Mm,
But yeah, absolutely. This series is going to be incredible. I hope it goes to at least six. Again, would love to see a seventh, game seven sort of real tight affair. But I think the Canes are going to be too strong, and they'll get it done.
yeah, I think it'll be a
But yeah,
close
still,
series, but I think they'll get it in done in six. But yeah. With that said, leave a comment below what you guys think of this series. Who comes out on top? Who's going to be the difference maker if it does go to Game 7? If it does, hopefully it goes to OT. And then, yeah, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll be covering more playoff stuff and continue that throughout the rest of the season and then even onto the next season. But until then, next video, take care, guys.
okay, guys.